Welcome back. We are now going to be starting our week 9 discussion. So for this week, we're going to be going over the topics of collaboration and diversity. You'll start out this week with some reading on the individual, and you're going to have an activity to do that's going to be a discussion post called the individual, and it's a reflection and discussion post. So I'm going to go ahead and click on it just so we can go over it really briefly. So for this one, you will have to click on the reply button and you're going to have to answer these questions here. And you need to just basically, on each one of the 3 questions, you need to just discuss thoroughly your feelings. And this is basically something that you're answering about yourself as an individual. And then you also, in order to earn the full 10 points for this assignment, not only do you need to answer these 3 questions about yourself as an individual, but then after you submit your reply, you need to reply to one of the other students' discussion posts in the class. So you're not going to see everyone's discussion post until you hit submit on your discussion post. It's set up that way so that way you are submitting a completely individual answer. You're not seeing what other people have written, and you're basically coming up with something original that is about you yourself. And then after you submit your post, you're going to be able to see all of the other posts that have come up so far. If you do submit this early in the week, more than likely you may or may not see very many other posts, and that's okay if you do happen to see one, or if you are the first person who puts your discussion post in there, you're not going to see any other posts until some other people start to reply. So you may have to check back in later in the week to see if some other people have replied to the post. But this one is one of the few discussion posts where I'm requiring as part of your points that you have to reply to one of the other classmates in the class. So you'll basically get 6 points if you just answer these 3 questions on your own. And then as long as you reply to one of your other classmates, so you're going to read their discussion posts and you're going to reply, and you need to try to be, thoughtful, give any kind of, tips, encouragement, whatever it is that you feel when you read their post. You need to write something more than just one line. You need to write a, thorough and thoughtful response and be respectful. But, there's a number of ways that you can reply to one of your classmates whenever you're completing this assignment. So just be aware for this discussion post, you not only have to post your answer, and then once you post it, you will see other replies pop up, and then you need to reply to one other classmate or another student to their reply. So that will give you the full 10 points if you complete all of these and then you do your reply to one of your classmates. So that is the assignment over the individual. And so we kind of discuss the individual first before we talk about topics such as collaboration, because that's where you have a topic about yourself as an individual, but then we move into, okay, now when you have to work in groups, or maybe when you have to work one-on-one, when you have to collaborate with other people in order to get something done, then we have a reading here for the collaborating part of this week's topics. And after you complete the reading on collaborating, you're going to do the activity, and it's also a reflection and discussion. Now, this one, when you answer the discussion post, you do not have to reply to one of the other students. You only have to do that for the individual. So for this discussion post over collaborating, you just have to basically put your own answer to the questions that you see there. So for that one, you also will not be able to see other classmates' posts until you post yours first. So I just want you to be aware of that. If it looks weird when you get in there and you see that you don't see any other discussion posts yet, it's because it's set for you to post yours first before you can see everybody else's. So those 2 activities are pretty cut and dry, pretty easy there. And then your next activity that you're going to do is going to be one of the major assessments that we do in this class, and it's called the Student Success Profile. And we've been doing this for several years now, and it is one of the assessments that you can actually go to the Career Center on campus and you can take this assessment. And it's really useful because it's one of those assessments that really kind of digs into your personality, things that you do, ways that you do things, habits that you have, and it's asking you a lot of questions, and then you're going to get a readout at the end that's going to give you a lot of good information. Most people like doing this assessment, but I do have every semester 1 or 2 people that either they don't like it, maybe because they don't agree with it, or they may just they may simply just not really like what it is that they're reading, because it may be something that they're going, okay, I don't like hearing that kind of thing about myself. But you do have to remember that not all assessments are perfect. So, yes, there may be some of these assessments that you take that some parts of it you agree with, some parts of it, when you get your results, you don't agree with, and you don't think that's a part of your personality. And a lot of it has to do with how you answer the questions, because let's face it, with assessments like this, there isn't always questions that are either pertinent to you, or there may be questions that you don't really understand how to answer very well. And so there could be some off-putting, feedback that you get back from the assessment based off the questions and how you answer them, because not all of the questions may be able to be answered in full by you, either because you don't understand what it's asking, or because it doesn't really pertain to you and you don't really know how to answer it. So just be aware of that. But most of the time, I would say probably at least like 85% of the time that I've done this assessment with my students, most students like it. Some students kind of already know, or they've taken an assessment similar to this, so they kind of already know a lot of the results that they get back. But a lot of students really like it because it just kind of dives deeper into things that you do, but it also gives you feedback at the end that not only says, okay, so you, based off your answers, you tend to have these kind of habits, you tend to do these kind of things, but here are some tips, tricks, advice that you might be able to take and use to help you be more successful if there is any of these things that you kind of want to overcome, that you don't want to do anymore. And it's got a bunch of different information. I'm going to go ahead and click on it just to kind of show you what we need to do here and just the different areas that you're going to actually get feedback on. So when you read the directions here, just go ahead and read through this, because it's going to tell you that when you click on this link, here's the directions for what you need to do. Because if you've never been with Rose State College, if you've never been on the Vita Navis website, you probably don't even have an account opened up yet. So you're going to have to click on the sign up, and then you're going to go ahead and put in information so you have a sign in. And you're going to need to keep it, because we're going to do another assessment, I believe it's next week, that you're going to have to use the same login and password for that as well. So just hold on to it, or keep it wherever you keep your passwords if you don't have a photographic memory. And so go ahead and read these directions. What you're going to do as far as submitting after you take this survey is, once you get through the entire survey, you've answered all the questions to the best of your ability, and you've submitted it, you're going to get a feedback page. You're going to get basically a dashboard, and it's got several pages of information. But just so I can verify that you took the entire assessment, you need to take a screenshot of the very first page of the results that you get. So you can take a screenshot, or if you don't know how to do a screenshot on your computer, you can even use your phone, take a screenshot of your screen that's showing that first page of results. It should have your name on it where I can actually see it's your results, and it should show some of the information from the actual assessment itself that you got as feedback. So that's what you're going to be turning in for this particular part of the assignment. So you'll click on this link. It's going to take you to the Vita Navis website. If you've used Vita Navis before for some other assessment, it could have been for another class, you probably already have a login and password. If you've never done it before, you're going to have to click on sign up, and then you're going to have to make your own login, password, and then you'll be able to take the assessment. Now, it does say on here, this particular assessment is a little bit lengthy. It's going to take about 30 to 35 minutes to get through it. There's a lot of questions. Some of the questions are going to be strange. I'm going to go ahead and put that disclaimer out there right now, because I've taken the assessment myself. When we first started doing this, I took the assessment because I wanted to see basically what the questions were going to be. I wanted to see what my feedback was going to be. And then I just wanted to understand it better. So that way, whenever students were having to take it, I would have a little bit of, background knowledge having taken the assessment myself. But it is pretty cool. A lot of it, even though some of the questions were odd and I didn't even know how to answer some of them, it was really neat to get the feedback, because a lot of it was very accurate, and it was kind of creepy how accurate it was, but a lot of it was very accurate. And then I also liked on the results pages how it gave a lot of information on areas that you can improve in, strengths, weaknesses, things like that. And that's always good information to have to kind of arm yourself with when you're trying to help yourself be more successful. So after you click on this link and you start the assessment, try your best to answer all of the questions on the assessment. There may be a couple that just outright don't pertain to you, or maybe you just have no idea what it's asking you. And it's okay to skip a couple of them, but what we've been told by the folks at the Career Center is to try to answer every single question to the best of your ability. And it's going to make you, basically, you'll get better feedback that way, even though some of those questions may be kind of odd and you're not 100% sure how to answer them. So just try to answer them all. You'll submit your answers at the end when you've gone through the entire thing. And then you're going to get your dashboard feedback page, and just make sure you take a screenshot of that first page. Hopefully it'll show your name on there. I think it does. And then you're going to upload that screenshot as your basically how you're going to be turning something in for this particular assignment. So that's all you're going to do there. You're going to see here, you'll see this little chart here. And these are some of the areas that when you get your feedback after you've taken the student success profile, it's going to have different information based off of, how you take risks, whether you take risks, team orientation, your work style, your learning environment that you are, most comfortable in, and leadership style. There's going to be a lot of other topics too, like we talked about the whole idea of growth mindset. That's going to be one of the things that you're going to get information on whenever you get your feedback from this assessment, and it'll explain it in a little more detail when you actually see your results. So that'll probably give you a little more information if you didn't really know what growth mindset meant. But we did have that reading last week that kind of went over what that means, but it'll be more pertinent to you now after having taken this assessment that's actually going to have a section on growth mindset based off of your answers. So let's scroll back down to where we were at. So you'll do the student success profile that we were just in, and then you'll have one other follow-up activity to do for the student success profile, and it's more of a reflection. So what you're going to need to do after you take the assessment, after you get your results, you need to read through your results. You need to go through all the pages that have the different areas that you're going to get different kind of feedback, and you need to read through it. Some of it may make perfect sense to you, some of it may not. It just kind of depends, but you need to try to read through all of it and see all the different areas that they give you and the different feedback that the assessment gives you. And then you'll complete this reflective exercise. It's just a Microsoft Word document, so you'll click on this link, you'll see a document pop up. If you're on your computer, you can just basically type your answers into the Microsoft Word document, save it, and then you can just, re-upload it just as the attachment as I gave you, just with your answers added to it. Or if you want, you can click on this, you'll get the Microsoft Word document, you can copy it, and then you can just paste it into the text entry box, because you do also have the option of doing it as a text entry assignment instead of a file upload if you don't want to type your answers into the document and you want to actually just put it into the text entry box. So it's up to you, whichever way is easier. Just make sure you copy the whole entire thing, paste it before you put it in the text entry box, and then add your answers to it. So the reflective exercise, that in itself is pretty self-explanatory. I don't really need to go over it with you, but it's going to be asking you about certain areas that you got feedback on. So you do need to make sure you read through all that feedback so you can answer this reflective exercise thoroughly. And other than that, you just have on the week 9 folder, we also just have your next folder for your health and wellness assignment. If you would like to do the bonus points, just please remember that I need to be able to see a date, and I need to be able to see the minutes of a workout, not just your, amount of exercise or walking or steps that you did for the whole entire day. You need to actually do that 30-minute workout. You need to record it, and you need to be able to put on there where I can see the minutes of your workout and your date. So that way I make sure that it falls within this week. So we do still have several weeks left. So if you haven't been doing the health and wellness bonus points, but you maybe want to, because maybe you're missing some points, maybe you got points taken off for something that, you want to try to make up some of those points, this health and wellness bonus points is a good way to do it. Just click on it and make sure you read through the directions if it has not been something that you've been doing so far, if you do want to start participating in it. And other than that, if you have any questions about any of the assignments or anything for this week, just let me know. You shouldn't have any issue with the links. I went ahead and clicked on them to make sure that the link for the student success profile, that it worked, and the link for the Microsoft Word document for the reflection. So it should work fine, but just let me know if something like that doesn't work for you. And other than that, I will see you all next week for week 10, and I hope you have a great week.